Hey guys, so welcome to our first book club, and thank you for everybody that took the time to read and send in comments and discussion topics. We are reading Jeff Vandermeer's Annihilation right here. First book in the Southern Reach trilogy. Books 2 and 3 are Authority and Acceptance, respectively. So we were originally gonna do the first 2 chapters on this session, but it came to my attention that in rereading it for the purposes of book club, there's just enough to talk about in the first chapter to start with. Number 2, there are several people that had asked for more time to access the book, to get caught up. And number 3, a lot of people have seen the movie but haven't seen the book, so we can do a book/film club situation on this one, and in doing so we can discuss the first part of the first act of the movie as it follows or contrasts to the book, for those people that have just seen the movie and have no desire to read the damn thing. So with that being said, I will tell you why I chose this book, and kind of a little bit of context for the author, the filmmaker, and then we can just get into it. And thank you to everybody who DM'd me and commented on discussion topics and just feedback on the movie as well. So I actually first heard about the movie in 2018 when I was at the movies and I saw the trailer for it. And if you're going to serve me Natalie Portman, Tessa Thompson, already, we're done there. But then you're going to add on Gina Rodriguez, you're going to give me Jennifer Jason Leigh out of fucking nowhere. You're going to give me Tuva Novotny, who I had not seen her in anything prior to this movie, but she's fantastic in it. And then you're going to give me Oscar Isaac. I mean, I don't know if there's a valid reason to not have seen this movie. So I was already shooken, and then you come out and you tell me, this was not only written, but it's directed by Alex Garland. Now, if you don't know who Alex Garland is, grab a cocktail and let's talk about it. So, if you have lived on this earth, you know of the movie The Beach with Leonardo DiCaprio that came out in, 98, 99? Oh my god, I think that was the first time I saw Tilda Swinton in anything. Anyways, that movie is based on a book by Alex Garland. I read the book after having seen The Beach when I was a senior in high school. Book is better, obviously, but the movie's pretty damn good. Anyways, Alex Garland has written several books. The Tesseract I would highly recommend if you're into that kind of like Gen X, kind of quasi-sci-fi, metaphysical nonsense. Anyways, Alex Garland has gone on to become a filmmaker in his own right. So he actually wrote the screenplays for... What did he write the screenplays for? I'm trying to determine what he wrote the screenplay for versus what he directed. So he wrote The Beach. He did not direct The Beach. The Beach was directed by Danny Boyle. But ironically, he wrote the screenplay for Danny Boyle's movie 28 Days Later, classic. He also wrote the screenplay for Sunshine, which is not only one of my favorite movies, but probably one of my top five favorite science fiction movies of all time, starring Cillian Murphy, Chris Evans, Daddy, when he was a baby. You have to see Sunshine. And also Never Let Me Go, which is based on a book by a Japanese author whose name is escaping me. Also very metaphysical, philosophical, kind of science fiction, but kind of dystopic future science fiction, in the vein of like a Hunger Games, but not YA, not like aliens and spaceships. If you want spaceships and maybe aliens, you want to go with Sunshine. But anyways, Alex Garland is the truth, the light, and the way. The stories that he comes up with, I can't even cope with. On top of that, he made his directorial debut in 2014, 2015, with Ex Machina, with Donald Gleason and my wife, Alicia Vikander. Now, that movie took my breath away. We can do a whole film club just on Ex Machina. But anyways, I'm taking the scenic route through Alex Garland's life. So obviously I went to see Annihilation. I saw it in the theaters. It was only out for a short period. It was critically acclaimed. There was talk of awards, of which it was nominated for none. I don't believe. But it was critically acclaimed. It just wasn't well received. It wasn't a box office hit. Excuse me. I have a spindle hair in my mouth. Anyways, that's not a sexual euphemism. The movie was fantastic. I proceeded to rewatch the movie when I got home several times. I forced everyone I knew to watch it. And they thanked me for it after, of course, naturally, just like I did with Ex Machina, you're welcome. Anyways, I was in my local bookstore just minding my own business, and then, I had seen this cover a couple of times, and it always grabbed my eye, but I never really read what it said. It's got kind of that metallic, it draws the eye to it. I'd never paid any attention to it, and I had seen the movie already. I'm in my local bookstore. Here we are. I'm looking down, and I'm like, Annihilation? Hang on a second. Yes, so it is based on the first book of the Southern Reach trilogy by Jeff Vandermeer. Jeff Vandermeer has written other science fiction. What does it say? He grew up in the Fiji Islands. I'm not sure if that's where he's from, but he now resides in Tallahassee. Don't ask me why. Anyways, so I bought the trilogy. I devoured it. I've read Annihilation now 3 times. It's a book that bears a repeat read, just like the film bears a repeat watch. I've made my friends read it, and by made, I mean suggested it with, a decent amount of aggression. And the folks that I know that have read it have loved it, and they've loved the kind of contrast, the compare contrast of, a book versus a film experience if you've done both. So, yes, the movie is based exclusively on book 1, so that's all you need to know. So I figured, because this book club was born out of my women's group, which is a private group on Facebook, I could very easily, and I have attempted in the past, to do like a nonfiction option, something about, issues at hand, things like that. But I figured, let's take a vacation from the fuckery and all of the nonsense, and let's read fiction, because I read very little of fiction, at least as it compares to my nonfiction addiction. Something has to come highly recommend to me, fiction-wise, or I have to have seen the film and want to explore, or something just has to catch my eye. They say don't judge a book by its cover, but I would say 90% of the things that I've ever read or purchased have been because the cover looked cool, and it worked out. So anyways, let's get into it. Let me have a sip of medicine. I'm parched already. So, we're just going to talk about chapter 1. So, the first thing I want to discuss is the first line of the book. I don't know if anybody has seen The Hours with Nicole Kidman, Meryl Streep, and Julianne Moore, and Ed Harris. Another example of a great film adaptation of a book, one which I saw the film and that made me read the book. But just a great film in its own right. But one of the themes of that, the theme of that movie and book, is that it's based on this kind of fictional extrapolation of Virginia Woolf's life in different kind of times and places. If she had kind of manifested in different times and places. Anyways, that was my first introduction to Virginia Woolf, and I haven't read much of her stuff, but what I have read, I've loved. And one of the things that they say about, am I really going to draw a blank on this right now? What is Mrs. Dalloway? Oh my god, I almost had to Google that. That was sad. So, Mrs. Dalloway, obviously one of her most famous books. This is kind of what The Hours works with, source material-wise, excuse me. The opening line to that book is often credited as one of the best opening lines in all of fiction canon, It's a very simple sentence, but it, again, to people that decide these sorts of things, it has been deemed one of the most intriguing opening sentences of any fiction book ever. And it is very simply, Mrs. Dalloway decided to buy the flowers herself. Period. End of sentence. You can agree or disagree, but it brings me to my point, which is the opening line of Annihilation, Chapter 1, Initiation, strikes me as falling into that category because of its ominous tone, sense of foreboding. All of the drama is served just within this first sentence. And it reads, "The tower, which was not supposed to be there, plunges into the earth, ... The tower which was not supposed to be there." Let's just, with that, okay? Well, there you go. I want to know what's going on. I can assume you do too. It hooked me. This is one of, I don't know if this is going to be a film spoiler. It probably will be, but the movie is also 2 years old, so, and it won't ruin the movie, but we're just going to go there. The tower that they reference in the book does not have a place in the film's narrative. There are other things that replace what the tower represents in the book. Anyways, the premise of the film and the book, and you learn this in Chapter 1 and very quickly in the first act of the film, is that there are some mysterious goings on in off the coast of somewhere in Florida. I think it appears to be kind of like maybe in the Panhandle, so we're talking like the Gulf situation. But there's somewhere in Florida where there's these mysterious goings on. There have been for quite some time. They've the military or whomever, in the trilogy it's this Southern Reach organization, have sent in multiple expeditions of folks to figure out what the hell is going on. And either they don't come back, they come back a little screwy, or the way in which they come back is, to be continued. You got to read the book, see the movie. So they've sent in the book, I don't remember how many, if it's the same in the movie, but in the book they've sent 11 expeditions prior to the one that we follow with these 4 women. So this is expedition numero 12. Now, in the book, you have a psychologist, as you do in the film, played by Jennifer Jason Leigh. You have a biologist, who in the film is played by Natalie Portman. You have an anthropologist, which in the movie is kind of substituted by a geomorphologist, and that is played by by Tuva Novotny. And then you have the surveyor in the book, which is substituted in the film by a physicist portrayed brilliantly by Tessa Thompson. When does she disappoint? I can't even. So these women have been chosen based on, their credentials and whatever, to go into this area and figure out what the hell is going on. The book, very quickly on, I think not even like 2 pages in, maybe 4 pages in, discusses that there is a boundary with which one has to pass through in order to enter this, what they refer to as Area X in the book. In the movie it's referred to as the Shimmer, which I love. But that's basically the area within which the mysterious goings on are going on. So you have to penetrate this boundary, this perimeter, whatever you want to call it, in order to enter into Area X. And this is another example of something that does not happen in the film. And in order for the women to penetrate the perimeter and make it to the other side, which the perimeter itself is given no dimensions. We don't know how thick it is, how long it is, how deep it is. We just know that whilst penetrating the perimeter of Area X, it gets really, really, really trippy. And in order to keep the people on the expeditions calm, they are put under hypnosis. So the book opens up, chapter 1, with these 4 women and the psychologist walking towards the perimeter, and then all of a sudden waking up or coming to on the other side in full gear with all of this equipment they didn't come in with, and with absolutely no memory of, penetrating or crossing